All right, students, this is lesson 12.2, frequency and histograms. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to make and interpret frequency tables and histograms. Go ahead and do the vocab, and I'll check back with you. All right, frequency table is groups a set of data values into intervals and shows the frequency for each interval. Intervals in a frequency table do not overlap. They do not have any gaps, and they are usually of equal size. An interval can be a 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever, depending on how you want to split up the data. But here we have 20 students, and what you want to look at is the range. The lowest number here in this set is 3. The highest number is 10. And then we're just going to record the frequencies of each. So if we look at the tables, one way to kind of organize it to start with is maybe make a line plot, number line plot. So number the possibilities on the bottom here, you could have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you can decide how you want to, what kind of intervals you want to use after that. But so it looks like there's 1, 3. We'll put an X there. And you can X these off one at a time so you don't miss any. So we have a 9 starting at the beginning, an 8, a 5, another 8, 10, we already did the 3, a 6, and a 7, and a 6, and a 7, 8, 10. I'm just going to continue this. All right, now I'm going to choose my intervals. And I think I'm going to go by 2s here, so these are going to be my intervals. And then I'm just going to put this data into a frequency table. So in this case, the intervals are going to go in one column, and the number in that interval is going to go in the other. So my table looks like that, and then we can see that between 3 and 4 we have 2. Between 5 and 6 we have 4. Between 7 and 8 we have 9, and between 9 and 10 we have 5. And the last thing you might want to do is just check to make sure the total comes up with the total that you should have there, which is 20. All right, you try that. All right, the next thing we're going to learn how to do is make a histogram. The data below are the numbers of hours per week spent playing sports by a group of students. What is a histogram? That represents the data. To make a histogram, you first need to think of what your intervals are going to be. So we need to make a frequency table. So look at your data, look at the range of your data, and decide. A good histogram will have at least 5 bars, but probably not much more than 10 bars. So if we have data, this looks like this data goes up to 17 and it starts at 2. So if we go by 5s, maybe go by 4s, we'll have 5 bars to make that. And you can always change your bar size after you see it if you don't think it's showing the relationship the way it should be. But I'm going to split these up into intervals of 4. So I got my data split up here into intervals, and now I'm going to turn those intervals into a bar on a bar graph. The y-axis represents the frequency in the interval, so it's always some frequency. In this case, it's the number of students who, number of hours per week, who spend that number of hours per week. And down on the bottom, we're going to represent those intervals using, on the x-axis, we're going to represent those intervals of the number of sports, or number of hours they spend playing those sports. So from 0 to 4, and we can just use the number line like that from 0 to 4. And the bar always goes to the right of the number. And then we'll represent 8, 12, 16, and 20. So from 0 to 4 are, and then we need to break, our highest number is 6, so maybe we could go by 2s here or 4s or whatever. So this will be 1, 2 students, 3, 4 students, 5, 6, and so on. And so our first bar from 0 to 4 is going to be 4 high. Well, that'll look like that. And then I'm going to create a bar for the rest of them with the corresponding heights. And that looks like that. We call this histogram skewed, and that's because it has one bar that is offset from the rest of it. I'll talk more about that in the next one. Go ahead and you try that. All right, once you have a histogram, you can describe it by its shape. If the bars are roughly the same height, the histogram has a uniform shape. If you can draw a vertical line that divides a histogram into two parts that are close to mirror images or symmetric, then it has a symmetric shape. And if the histogram has one peak that is not in the center, it has a skewed shape. So let's look at these and decide which of these three they are. Is it uniform, symmetric, or skewed? And this first one has one peak that is not in the center right here. And so we're going to say this one is skewed. And the second one, it divides, you can draw a line that divides a histogram into two parts that are close to mirror images right here. So that, we're going to call that a symmetric histogram. All right, you try that. All right, making a cumulative frequency table. So a cumulative frequency means that after each interval, we're going to total up how many there are altogether. So let's go ahead and start by making a frequency table here. Let's decide what intervals we want to do. And we have numbers that go from 4 all the way up to, looks like in the 50s. So we can do intervals like from 1 to 10 and 11 to 20, 21 through 30, 31 through 40, and 41 through 50, and 51 through 60 should do it. So we'll go ahead and get a count on those. So now that we have the frequency in each of those intervals, now we're just going to total it up. The first row is always the same as the number of frequency in that interval. And then we're just going to add on the next row. So 5 plus 2 equals 7, plus 2 more equals 9, plus 7 more equals 16, plus 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. All right, go ahead. You try making this one, and I'll check back with you. All right, that brings us up to the lesson check. Go ahead and try that, and we'll talk about it next time we meet in class.